Just yell, honey.
So, you guys have all talked about how smart Bob is, obviously, graduating from Caltech, but the most things that I remember growing up was he was always really active and did a lot of fun stuff, and I was lucky to be included in a lot of those things. He taught me how to ski, and I remember when we lived in Arizona, we would drive up to Flagstaff. I must have been really young, but I remember I couldn't hold on to the rope tow because my hands weren't strong enough to be able to hold it, and the rope would just go through. Do you know what a rope tow is?
Yeah.
But he would stand behind me, and do it real like that, and then I would go in front of him, and he'd tell me when to get off, so I wouldn't fall down. God, I must have been, I don't know. We moved out here when I was 10, so I was young. And then you also helped me when we learned how to ski and get on the chairlifts, and you told me, okay, now's the time to get off. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. But and then when we went to Hawaii and the Caribbean, he taught me how to snorkel so that we could go deep under the water, and the water goes into the snorkel, but then when you come back up, you got to push the air out, so all the air, all the water comes out of the pipe. So he taught me how to do that. And and then we used to run together. I don't know if you remember that, Dad. He probably doesn't remember any of these things. I do. And we used to run down on Rat Beach in the evening. And after we were done running, we would go into the water. And you taught me how to body surf and learn how to, catch the wave at the perfect time. You would slide down the wave. And I thought it was so cool because it was at night that we were doing this. It was kind of scary, actually. I was like, oh my God, the sharks are going to eat us. But, that was a lot of fun. And, also I went, did a lot of backpacking with him and my brother. And he taught me how to, God, I knew I was going to cry. Sorry. When you go up the switchbacks, where it's really steep, he taught me how to, Michaela.
You guys are being cry.
Oh my God, give me my sunglasses. Anyways, he taught me how to walk up where you don't get tired. You have to take little tiny steps, because you have this big, huge thing on your back. And I remember we walked out of, it was by June Lake, and it was this huge straight thing where switchbacks were up and down, and made it all the way. And then at nighttime when all the stars would come out, he showed me all the constellations and taught me all the different constellations. I'm sorry. But I still remember those. And when I walk my dogs now at night, I go, oh, there's Scorpio, and there's, Orion's belt and all that stuff. Sorry. Oh my God. And then when I bought my house in Venice, I bought a fixer-upper. Oh my God. So he used to come over every weekend, and, like Russ, he would help me fix things. And I learned all kinds of stuff like plumbing and electrical stuff, and so now I get to be the fix-it person in my house. But I don't know. I learned a lot from him. And he made a dance floor in our garage for my daughter, and in the middle of the whole project, he cut his finger really bad, and it was so bad we had to go to the emergency room. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. Yep, and I was so amazed that it was just gushing out blood, and the lady was just there stitching it up with no kind of anesthetic or anything, and he just was so brave. I'm like, wow, I can't believe that. It was amazing. But I have to say, what I've really liked recently, now that things have kind of slowed down with them, is I've had a lot of quality time with my dad. I'd have to say more. I'm so sorry. God. But when he was in the rehab facility, I went there a lot because I work in long-term care, and I wanted to make sure that, they were doing everything right, So we would go out on the porch, and they had a bush that had a lot of hummingbirds. And we would just sit out there and watch the hummingbirds come and go and talk about, oh, look at that one. Oh, there goes another one. Just some, nice and quiet. And another thing I like doing with him now is sitting out in the swing in the backyard. He likes to sit out there and we talk about the cats and the squirrels and, the white cat and BW and everything. So it's, you know what? Dad, Susie, Robbie, and I really are proud to be your kids. Sorry. We love you a lot.
That was very wonderful. I thank you all very much. And I remember some of them, but there's an awful lot that I don't remember. But I can say honestly, you guys did more for me than I did for you, and I thank you.
Hello. I'm Sarah's oldest. I grew up maybe like 5 minutes away from Grandma and Grandpa's house, and I used to go over there quite frequently. And sometimes I would spend the night, and I would I get to choose which of the old bedrooms I could sleep in. I could sleep in Mom's old room, or Aunt Susie's old room, or Uncle Robbie's old room. And every time before I would go to bed, my best memory ever was sitting in the living room and Grandpa reading me stories. And I love listening to him read stories because every so often he would make this noise with his throat. He'd go, And I thought it was so funny because every time he would say that, I'd look in the book and I'd look at him like, is that in the story, or are you just making that noise? And every time I'd have to flip the page, he'd always put on his deepest voice and go, turn the page. Like he was a book on tape. I loved that. Every time that I read a book now, I think to myself, turn the page, every time it happens. My time with you guys, spending so much time at your house, it was magical. I loved going into the closets and looking at all the old clothes. And I used to think that you used to have like hidden little cupboards that had secret worlds in them that I only had to open it and I could crawl in and I'd get lost in there for hours. But my best memories of this entire city are with you guys. And that's why I love coming up here and looking at all the trees. I always drive by your house every single time. I have to at least once. So, thank you so much.